Hello there, welcome to my channel. I am Bryan Lomax and this is my review for Robocop 3. This was released in 1993. It is directed by Fred Dekker of Monster Squad and Night of the Creeps fame, and it is written by Fred Dekker and also Frank Miller, allegedly. So I say allegedly because obviously when you get as much of a ruckus that goes on behind the scenes as you did with these, well, certainly Robocop 2 and 3, it's hard to know who did what. Ideas that were in Frank Miller's original script for Robocop 2 ended up in here. Whose ideas are what is anybody's guess, but there you go. The story follows Robocop as he gets embroiled with a bunch of these rebels that are opposing new development by OCP. So OCP are trying to push people out of their homes so they can essentially clear the slums and build new housing development and whatnot there, the city of the future. And these people don't take too kindly to that, obviously, and they rebel. And as a result, a new police force, if you want to call it that, it's more a military force, is brought in to basically clean these people out. Robocop gets caught up in it all and ends up having to fight his own prime directives in order to help these people and stop, once again, the tyranny of OCP. Now, apparently on the making of Robocop 2, Peter Weller and Nancy Allen had such a bad time working with director Irving Kershner. I believe Kershner was quite ill around that time when he was making Robocop 2. How much of that played into his crankiness or whatnot, I don't know, but suffice to say they did not enjoy their time on that film at all. So Peter Weller doesn't even come back. We get a completely different actor in the role of Robocop. Not that it makes any difference, and I know there'll be people out there, but no, Peter Weller's my Robocop. You can't replace Peter. It's a guy in a mask who mostly walks around like this. Peter Weller is no Daniel Day-Lewis. Nancy Allen came back to this film only on the explicit condition that she be killed off fairly early on in the film, which does explain why, spoiler alert, when she is killed off, she has zero kind of acting in there. It's like, today I get my paycheck, today I get to walk off this film. Is that it? Take's done? Okay, thanks. Bye, guys. Robert John Burke, who takes over the role of Robocop, as I say, he does what's required. It's a guy in a suit. I reiterate, it's a guy in a suit doing this and speaking in a monotone voice. It's not Citizen Kane. Nothing more than that is required. The story for this is actually it's quite decent, as you know, with regards to what they're trying to craft, what they're trying to put together. You can see the elements on the page as they're working. The problem is in the execution. You know, there's stuff that's on the page and works on the page, but then if you don't have the money to put what's on the page up on screen, it becomes a total disaster. And I'd say the first 2/3 of this film are much better than I remembered it being. It's still pretty slow plodding. It's still pretty wooden in the acting department, and you can tell there's not quite as much of a budget to play with there. The drop in box office between Robocop 1 and Robocop 2 obviously necessitated that the third film would have a smaller budget. I think that shows in places, certainly in the third act. Blimey. My memories of this one as a kid, there's not that much there. I remember seeing Robocop flying with a jetpack on and it looking terrible. Even back then, even more so now, it's horrendous. Truly horrendous. But I also remember the little scene at the beginning where Ed 209 pops back up, and I was like, oh, Ed 209, cool. But I even, like, back when I was a kid, I thought, it doesn't quite look right. It looks a bit naff. It doesn't look quite as bad as I remember it, to be honest. If you watch these three films in quick succession, I think the Ed 209 stuff is, it's the same as it always was. So one of the elements that was in Frank Miller's original Robocop 2 script was this samurai robot. So OCP was going to have their Japanese division were going to send over these essentially samurai versions of Robocop that Robocop would then have to go up against. They make it into Robocop 3 and it's just not executed very well at all. Again, whether you can put that down to budgetary constraints, I don't know, but I just don't think that Fred Dekker is the man to handle the action sequences for a film like this. There's a fight scene, so all the way through the film, we've got this, this one Japanese robot samurai guy who's on the tail of Robocop. You know they're going to clash. They're building it up. The suspense is it's not that great, to be honest, but you can see they're trying. But you know they're going to have a clash. Where's this going to lead? They're going to have a fight. What's that going to be like? In the first film, it was Robocop versus Ed 209. In the second film, we've got this Robocop 2, Kane kind of robot, which actually holds up pretty well, as I said in my review for that. So in this one, you're thinking, you got this samurai robot. That's good. It's not good. It's not good at all. It's not even a good idea, because what you have at the end of the day is, as I've already stated twice, a guy who moves around like this, is really slow, is good at pulling a gun and shooting things, but the moment you get into a fight with a samurai master who's all about stealth, who's all about quick movements, fighting, there's no way to make that look good. It's one of the worst fight scenes I've ever seen on screen. Seeing Robocop just squirming about on the floor, not being able to do much in a physical fight with this guy, and this guy not being able to do much because if they oversell it, there's no way Robocop's walking out alive. Like, if this guy was really moving like a proper samurai master, that's it. Game over. Robocop's done. CCH Pounder plays the leader of these rebels, and I've always had a fondness for CCH Pounder. She's been in things where I've thought she's a really good actress. She was in a great 2-part episode of The X-Files. I've seen her in ER. She's done a lot of TV work where she's been a standout in that work. Here, not so much. I am going to call out my favourite director of all time here, so this may sound like very hypocritical, but I'm going to call out a moment of truly bad directing from my favourite director of all time. But I have to, because quite frankly, you look at CCH Pounder's death scene in Robocop 3, and all I could think of is that she gives Marion Cotillard a real run for her money in The Dark Knight Rises. Go. It's an easy fix. As a director, if you're looking at what your actor is doing, you see it, you think, no, that looks like a burger being flipped in a pan. Now, this film does earn considerable brownie points, I must say, for the inclusion of Bradley Whitford. I love Bradley Whitford. I'm a big West Wing fan, and I think that Bradley Whitford does what he does. He has a certain persona about him that he brings to roles. He's that sarcastic kind of guy with a lot of energy. He can play the corporate douchebag brilliantly, and he does so here. I was surprised when he popped up. I had no clue he was in this film. So when he did pop up, I was like, oh, at least we've got Bradley Whitford's charm to rub off as we go through this pathetic waste of space of a movie. Unfortunately, his screen time is limited. Once he's gone, pretty much my enjoyment of the movie starts to wane with it. There are moments in here where I feel like there was something. there's definitely a good idea there, and quite prophetic in some ways. You know, Detroit is a city that did once declare itself bankrupt, as it does in this film. And I do think there is definitely something worth looking at in that whole aspect of, you know, big business pushing little people out of their homes in order to make way for rich people's homes. So there's something worth saying in this material. It's just really ham-fisted. It's really undersold by, again, maybe lack of budget, but bad direction. I know a lot of people are quite big on Monster Squad. I was, and I hold my hand up. At 7 years old, Monster Squad was the best film ever made. Seeing it as an adult, not so much. I mean, even that film had Shane Black going for it. Although Shane Black does actually pop up in this film in a cameo. I didn't notice it, I'll be perfectly honest. It was only when I was making my notes for this review, I checked out Letterboxd just to get some names down in my head. Who's who, what's what. And there he is in the cast credits. Apparently played someone called Donnelly, which I don't remember from the film. I watched this film last night. Don't remember a character in it called Donnelly. So there you go. That is the long-lasting impression it had on me. On top of that, you've got really dated early 90s stereotypes of black pimps driving around in pink Cadillacs with furry dice on the mirror. It's just, yeah, it's pretty horrendous. It's not a good film. Robocop 3 ultimately comes off feeling like a straight-to-video or even made-for-TV movie. It's not great, as you can tell from what I've already said. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. Like I say, the first 2/3 of the film, where there does seem to be some kind of story going on and, you know, some things worth saying, it's serviceable, but then by the final third, when showdowns start happening in the most wooden way possible, it's cringe. It becomes really, really cringe. So yeah, 2 out of 5 from me. But what about you? Yeah, if you've seen Robocop 3, I want to know what you thought about it. So please do leave your comments down in the comments section below. Do check out my other reviews in this series. I will put them either here or here. Can never tell which side it is. For Robocop and Robocop 2, I will be reviewing the remake soon as well. But yeah, thank you for watching this video, and until next time, cracking.